Welcome to the Economist Word Spotlight. Have you ever noticed how just one carefully chosen word can completely transform your understanding of a complex issue? Today, we're going to unpack some powerful vocabulary, words that really illuminate a critical topic shaping the future of cities. Our focus comes from a recent piece titled, China's Urban Planners Could Determine the Future of City Life, published in The Economist on September 4th, 2025. Our mission is to sharpen your understanding of these terms and reveal how they illuminate the bigger picture of urban development in China, guiding you through its, well, stark contrasts and ambitious visions.
That's right. And these aren't just vocabulary words, they're more like intellectual keys, you could say. Each one unlocks a layer of understanding about the underlying dynamics and the big trends in urban development, especially somewhere as huge and fast-changing as China. By really grasping these terms, you get a concise lens, a way to view some pretty profound shifts, both the challenges and the opportunities, without getting totally lost in the complexities. It's about getting well-informed quickly.
Okay, let's get started then. Our first word is shriveling. The article states, many cities in the Northeast, a chilly rust belt, are shriveling as their citizens hunt economic opportunities on China's southern and eastern coasts. See map.
Right. So shriveling here. Well, it describes something becoming smaller, weaker, less active. It really evokes this sense of decline, often because of neglect or dwindling resources, maybe a loss of vitality. In this specific context, it paints a pretty stark picture of cities in northeast China. They're literally losing people and economic energy as folks move away for better jobs. It's more than just shrinking. It feels like a deeper, maybe almost irreversible decline.
I can really picture that. It's like watching something just wither. You might say, with young people moving away, the once bustling town is now shriveling into obscurity. It really speaks to a loss of lifeblood, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
So what's the opposite of such a vivid decline?
Well, the natural opposite would be flourishing or thriving,
Right.
growing, prospering, getting stronger. For instance, the technology sector is flourishing thanks to heavy investment in innovation. What's really striking about shriveling here is how powerfully it captures that loss of vitality in those northeastern cities. It's not just about numbers moving away. It kind of hints at a bleak future if things don't change. It's almost like these cities are being, well, hollowed out, losing their energy, which is a huge policy challenge, not just for China, really, but for post-industrial places everywhere.
That idea of being hollowed out definitely presents a challenge. But what about cities trying to avoid that? That takes us to our next word, ditched. The article says, smaller cities have largely ditched hukou restrictions, but Beijing and Shanghai remain unfriendly to migrant workers.
Okay, so ditched. When you ditch something, it means you've abandoned it, discarded it, gotten rid of it, usually because it's not wanted or useful anymore. Here, it means smaller cities are making a conscious choice, a proactive one. They're getting rid of or significantly loosening their restrictive hukou policies. And just for context, the hukou is China's household registration system. It traditionally ties your access to things like schools and healthcare to where you were born, which makes it really hard for migrants to properly settle in new cities. So when cities ditch these rules, it's a pretty big policy shift.
Right. Explaining the hukou is key there, so it's not just letting go, it's strategic, like a business upgrading its systems. You might hear, the company ditched its old software system in favor of a more efficient one. It implies a clear intention moving forward.
Exactly right. And the opposite would be, say, adopted or retained, meaning keeping something or continuing to use it. Like, despite the challenges, the school retained its traditional teaching methods. Ditched here really highlights a contrast. Unlike the big hubs, Beijing, Shanghai, these smaller cities are showing more flexibility. They're actively trying to pull in migrants by getting rid of these old rules. It signals a more opportunistic approach, maybe adaptable. They're essentially shedding a burden that they see as holding them back, holding back their ability to compete for talent, for investments, practical move to counter that shriveling risk.
So, while some places decline, others make bold moves to stay relevant. And when those strategies work, we see something else. Our third term is an idiom. Are hives of, the original sentence reads, some clusters are hives of industry. Perhaps the most promising is in the Pearl River Delta.
Are hives of. Yeah, that's a great idiom. It vividly describes places just bustling with intense activity, energy, productivity, like a beehive, buzzing with bees. In this context, it shows these industrial clusters as incredibly active, productive, constantly generating economic output, innovation, jobs. It's a really strong image of economic energy.
I love that imagery. Makes you think of a place just full of energy, busy. Imagine the market square was a hive of activity during the festival. You can almost hear it, feel the excitement.
Precisely. And the opposite, well, it would be something like our deserts of activity or our void of activity, places that are empty, inactive, lifeless. For instance, after the factory closed, the town became a desert of unemployment. What our hives of tells us about the bigger picture is that sheer bustling energy in these clusters that really are dynamic engines of growth, pulling in talent, capital, resources, driving whole regional economies. But it also hints at the intensity, maybe, the constant motion, the pressure that comes with that level of productivity.
Right, that makes sense. So from these energetic hives, we move to describing the cities within them. Our next word, vibrant. The article states, the Greater Bay Area, GBA, as that region is known, contains 86 meters people across vibrant cities such as Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong.
Vibrant, yes. It describes something full of life, energy, activity, dynamic, exciting. Here, it's used to characterize cities like Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, portraying them as lively, prosperous, teeming with opportunities. Very positive word. Compelling. Suggests a thriving, constantly evolving urban environment.
It really does. Makes you want to visit. Like you might say, the city is known for its vibrant nightlife and cultural scene. It evokes excitement, possibility.
Absolutely. And the opposite. That would be dull or lifeless, lacking energy, excitement, vitality. For example, the town felt dull after most young people had moved away. Using vibrant here really underscores the huge dynamism and prosperity of those Pearl River Delta cities. They stand out as powerful magnets for growth, pulling in people and investment on a massive scale. These aren't just busy cities, they are, as the word suggests, bursting with life, constantly active, evolving, offering tons of possibilities, which reinforces why other regions would want to, well, copy their success.
That connection between hives of and vibrant is really clear now. It paints this picture of success, a model. And that leads us right to our fifth word, emulate. The article mentions infrastructure is the key to its continuing success and the success of clusters that wish to emulate the GBA.
To emulate.
Right.
It means to try to imitate or match someone or something, usually a successful model. In this context, it clearly refers to other clusters, other regions in China, wanting to copy the success of the Greater Bay Area. They see the GBA as a proven blueprint for getting prosperous, and they're looking to replicate its strategies, especially that focus on infrastructure as a foundation.
So it's basically learning from the best, trying to follow their lead. Think of a startup that hopes to emulate the success of leading tech companies. It's aspirational, definitely points to a clear target.
It does. And the opposite would be something like neglect or ignore, refusing to follow or learn from a model. For instance, the team ignored best practices and struggled as a result. What emulate suggests here is maybe something deeper than just admiration. It implies the GBA is seen as the benchmark, the gold standard almost. Other legions aren't just watching, they're actively trying to copy the formula, particularly recognizing how key infrastructure was. But it does raise a question, doesn't it? Does this drive to emulate speed up good strategies, or could it risk stifling unique regional development by focusing too much on just copying?
That's a great point, a potential downside to just following the leader. Now, our sixth word takes us into another aspect of these smart cities, one with a different kind of intensity, ubiquitous, the article notes. But the ubiquitous street cameras of these smart cities also provide a real-time window for the police on potential trouble spots.
Ubiquitous. Okay, this describes something that is present, appearing, or found everywhere, seemingly unavoidable. Here, it refers to surveillance cameras being absolutely everywhere in these smart cities. You just can't miss them, can't avoid them. Their presence is pervasive, a constant feature of the urban landscape.
Yeah, impossible to miss. Definitely drives that home. Like how smartphones have become so ubiquitous that it's hard to imagine life without them. You just expect them now. Part of life.
Exactly that. And the opposite would be rare. Or scarce, uncommon, hard to find, infrequent, like wild tigers are now scarce in their natural habitats. What's particularly illuminating, or maybe sobering, here is how Ubiquitous emphasizes the overwhelming presence of these cameras in Chinese cities. It hints at how deeply this technology shapes daily life and the extent of state control, providing that constant real-time window for authorities. While the article mentions using it for potential trouble spots, the sheer pervasiveness implied by Ubiquitous, well, it creates a sense of constant observation, which inherently influences how people behave, a whole feeling of being in that urban space.
That's a stark contrast to the vibrant image, isn't it? Shows different sides of city life opportunity alongside observation. Okay, moving on. Our seventh word describes a less positive outcome. Exacerbated. The article states, Cities used to be able to rake in cash by selling land to developers, but this only exacerbated the property frenzy.
Right, exacerbated. To exacerbate means to make a problem or a situation or even a feeling worse, more intense. In this context, it refers to how selling land to developers didn't just contribute to, but actively worsened China's already booming and potentially dangerous property market. It made the situation much more severe. It points to a policy choice with, let's say, unforeseen and damaging consequences.
So it actively made things worse, not just a side effect, but fueled the fire. You might hear his reckless comments only exacerbated the conflict between the two groups. It really suggests a negative escalation.
Precisely. And the opposite. That would be alleviated or mitigated, making a problem less severe, reducing its impact, such as new policies have alleviated the financial burden on small businesses. What's crucial about exacerbated here is how it stresses that these land sales, which were meant to solve city revenue problems, didn't just fail to do that effectively. They actually fueled a dangerous property boom. This policy misstep has made future reforms even trickier, more complex. It's a classic case of, well, adding fuel to the fire, creating a precarious situation with long-term economic effects that policymakers are still trying to manage.
A really powerful example of those unintended consequences in policy. Okay, finally, our eighth word. It highlights an environmental challenge affecting the sustainability of these growing cities. Afflicts, the article concludes. How to adapt to a changing climate is also a challenge. Drought already afflicts the city cluster around Beijing.
Afflicts, yes. To afflict means to cause pain, suffering, or persistent problems to someone or something. In this context, it refers to drought severely troubling and harming the Beijing city cluster. It's not presented as just a temporary issue, but as a deep-seated, ongoing, really impactful challenge, something that drains resources and forces them to rely on water from far away.
That sounds incredibly serious. A real burden. You may think of how a rare disease afflicts thousands of people in the region each year. It conveys that sense of ongoing distress, something persistent, hard to shake off.
It does, and the opposite would be relieves or comforts, easing pain, suffering, difficulty. For instance, the new treatment relieves patients of chronic pain. Connecting this to the bigger picture, Afflicts really underscores how drought isn't just an inconvenience for these northern cities. It's a persistent, painful challenge. It impacts everything in urban planning, resource allocation, economic stability. It highlights the growing pressure of climate change on cities everywhere, really, forcing them to rethink their infrastructure, their reliance on natural resources. It's a global challenge manifesting very clearly there.
What a fascinating journey through language and urban policy. It really is incredible how these words paint such a vivid picture. You see the forces shaping cities today, the economic shifts, the strategic moves, the pervasive tech, those environmental pressures. Each word did kind of illuminate a piece of this huge, complex puzzle.
Indeed. And the precision of language, well, it lets us grasp the nuances, doesn't it? The subtleties of these complex challenges, and connect them to broader global trends in how cities are developing. Which maybe raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. As cities all over the world face similar pressures, economic shifts, climate change, governance demands, what specific words would you choose to describe their defining characteristics? And what do those words reveal about their future?
That's a great thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of language and insight. Until next time, keep observing the world and listen for those powerful words that truly tell the story.